Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. A new show is posted every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out the stations at KELY1230.com for a station all over Nevada. There'll be several in your area. We're working on one in Clark County still, but I've got something working, so maybe soon. If you have questions or comments, you can send an email to me at bob@firedupmail.com. Again, that's bob@firedupmail.com. Or leave a message on my office recorder, 702-257-1060. That's 702-257-1060. If you leave contact information, I'll respond by email, text, or telephone. If you don't leave a number, I can't call you back. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by any mainstream media. We always present a few of those for our listeners' education. Most are good shootings. Sometimes they're questionable. Sometimes I use shootings that are just plain wrong, but they're all educational for those of you who keep or carry a firearm for self-defense. A reminder here, individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice here might not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions, and more importantly, stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, what I call lawyer speak, or regional accents back into more common American English. The incidents are as reported, except the names of those involved are generally omitted. So we're going to start out today with a story from KTAL TV6, reported June 25th, 2020 in Shreveport, Louisiana. In Shreveport, an incident happened at a home that is in front of Summerfield Elementary School on Ardis Taylor Drive, just off Mansfield Road, if you know where that is. On early Sunday morning, a Shreveport homeowner said he and his sister were working on his Jeep in their garage. Suddenly, two men with guns rushed in, shouting, "Where's the money?" He said he was leaning into his Jeep and the two male subjects came up behind him. One grabbed him by his arm and the other grabbed his head and started to walk him forcibly into the home. He continued that his sister was in the passenger seat of the Jeep working on the radio. She saw the perp with the gun to her brother's head. She saw that he was being forced into the house. She pulled out her gun and fired on the men attacking her brother, striking a 21-year-old perp. As she chased them out of the house, they fired back. One round they fired hit her brother. Her brother looked down and saw that he had a bullet in his chest and pulled it out himself. His Jeep had bullet holes from that shootout. He did not want to share their names, but shared how they defended themselves and that his sister held the 21-year-old perp at gunpoint until police arrived. The brother was in the hospital for a day and soon went back to work along with his sister, who happens to be a healthcare worker. He's thankful for his sister reacting fast. He said, "She saved my life." I'm sure she probably did. The second suspect, a 20-year-old, was arrested Wednesday after a tip to police. The brother said he's glad they had their guns with them, did not panic, and will not be leaving his garage door open anymore. The 23-year-old suspect faces attempted second-degree murder charge. He was already wanted on a separate felony. The 21-year-old perp faces a attempted first-degree murder charge. Another incident wherein being armed clearly saved the intended victims' lives. They said they started carrying every day since the COVID-19 epidemic, as crime rates have increased. In most parts of the country, law enforcement responses to 911 calls are dramatically slower due to the huge increase in calls for help, as well as the large number of officers who are out sick. There's a double whammy there. There are less officers available, and it takes them longer to get there. This second story comes from the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety. A spokesperson or reporter named Martha Rose Brown reported on June 18, 2020, in Orangeburg, South Carolina, multiple people contacted the owner of a Center Street property to tell him that a homeless individual appeared to be living on the property. The owner and a friend visited the property and found what appeared to be a small shelter. The pictures, it looks like a little makeshift tent, basically. The homeless individual allegedly threatened to kill the owner and his friend if they moved his stuff. The homeless man then apparently picked up a trash can and started walking aggressively toward the owner and his friend. The owner fired his revolver in the air. That apparently caused the individual to run away. Officers caught up with the trespasser and placed him on trespass notice for that property. A city curfew in Orangeburg started in response to the virus, will continue in the face of continuing concerns about COVID-19. In a separate, during a spate of crime and violence, their mayor there, Michael Butler, said Thursday, in consultation with the city council and other community leaders, the curfew imposed a few weeks ago will remain in effect. Butler said in a prepared statement, the council did not meet or vote on this particular curfew. Several things here. The warning shot had its planned effect and the homeless guy ran away. A warning on warning shots, if I could. What goes up must come down. Every 4th of July, coming up shortly, someone is killed and lots of people are injured. Please, during this holiday, don't do anything stupid. Don't fire shots in the air. We're going to break now for a brief word about some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. This is a reminder to all our listeners. Keystone Corporation, it's a conservative organization that I'm on their board of directors, is having their annual dinner on Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. The featured speaker is Karl Rove. It is at the Venetian Hotel. For information, you can visit online to www.keystonenevada.com and get all the information. Tables are available for groups, and Karl Rove is an amazing commentator. You don't want to miss this. It is going to be the conservative event of the year. And we're back as promised. This story comes from WJAC TV6. It's an NBC affiliate. Was reported on June 8th, 2020 in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Cambria County woman shot an intruder who broke into her home Sunday night, according to the county coroner. His name is Jeff Lees. The coroner added the home invasion happened just before midnight when a 45-year-old entered the home on the 1100 block of 2nd Street in the Scalp Level borough. The intruder apparently broke into the basement of the home and was walking up the basement steps when he was confronted by the female homeowner. The woman ordered this 45-year-old to stop at least twice, and when he refused, she fired a shot from her .38 caliber revolver, which struck the intruder in the head and killed him. The Cambria County District Attorney, a fellow named Greg Nugebauer, I'll never say that right, says his office is treating the case as a justified use of force. He said several communications were made to the individual to leave. The individual kept proceeding toward the homeowner, and the homeowner took action to protect herself as she deemed appropriate. The district attorney referred to Pennsylvania law, commonly called the Castle Doctrine, that allows a person to use force to protect themselves in their home, their vehicle, or their business if they have a reasonable fear of being harmed. He added the incident was a random encounter. The 45-year-old did not know the owners of the home. The Windber Police Chief, Andy Fear, added that there were 3 other people in the home during the time of the incident, and there were no other weapons found at the scene. My comments here, clearly the authorities consider this to be a valid self-defense under state law, and it would be valid in most jurisdictions, perhaps other than New York City or similar jurisdictions led by anti-gun politicians. This is an interesting detail I discovered. With a crime rate of 45 per 1,000 residents, Johnstown has one of the highest crime rates in America compared to all communities of all sizes, from the smallest town to the very largest cities. Chances of a resident becoming a victim of either a violent crime or a property crime is 1 in 22 every year. Can you imagine that crime rate? 1 out of every 22 citizens becomes a victim of crime every year. That's incredible. I'm just at a loss. Anyway, this next story, again, and this one comes from WREG-TV News Channel 3, a reporter named Zachary Downs. Reported June 28, 2020 in Memphis, Tennessee, officers responded to an attempted robbery at 2898 South Perkins. A female victim had reportedly fired shots at the suspects. The suspects fled the scene in a silver car. Shortly after the incident, a 15-year-old male was dropped off at the Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. He was initially listed in critical condition, but it was later pronounced dead. At the time, an MPD spokesman said the teen may have been dropped off by a silver car. The people who dropped off the teen took off before anyone could speak to them. The deadly shooting of the teen is clearly linked to the attempted robbery. Anyone who has any information in this case is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 901-528-CASH. One would presume that means there's a cash reward. My comments here, violent criminals are getting younger and younger. It is common for younger members of street gangs to carry firearms as they're usually charged under the local juvenile systems instead of as adults. In the last few years, these children are more often the shooters. They do that to gain street credibility or establish themselves as locally respected hoodlums. The innocent victims, their innocent victims, who are forced to defend themselves, often never recover from the guilt of killing a child. Like police officers involved in these situations, mental health counseling is highly recommended. If you're involved in one of these, seek some help because it ain't your fault and you have some emotional issues to get through. We're going to break again for a brief word from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. This is a reminder to all our listeners. Keystone Corporation, it's a conservative organization that I'm on their board of directors, is having their annual dinner on Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. The featured speaker is Karl Rove. It is at the Venetian Hotel. For information, you can visit online to www.keystonenevada.com. and get all the information. Tables are available for groups, and Karl Rove is an amazing commentator. You don't want to miss this. It is going to be the conservative event of the year. This fifth story, it is about an editorial in the Review Journal. The Las Vegas Review, I can't say that. The Las Vegas Review Journal ran an editorial on June 27, 2020, about Congress being deadlocked on a police reform bill. A week ago, Colorado became the first state to make it harder for rogue police officers to use the doctrine of qualified immunity as a shelter against misconduct. The Review Journal praises a Colorado bill signed by Governor Jared Polis on June 19th that allows citizens to bring claims in state civil court against police who violate their rights under state law. Qualified immunity was designed to protect officers who must make split-second decisions when confronted with life-threatening situation. Essentially, if they made a reasonable decision based on information available at the time, they are personally immune from lawsuits. The issue of police reform has become even more controversial in the wake of the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. The Colorado law makes it more likely that those who have been wronged get an equitable legal solution. The editorial position that I've just read you is absolutely wrong. Police officers indeed deserve protection from claims that stem from their difficult daily duties. Qualified immunity is an absolutely necessary protection for law enforcement departments and individual officers. When coming upon any violent scene, any decision made is subject to a lawsuit. If the officer is aggressive in saving the victim, who is later proven not to need savings, not to need to be saved, he will be sued for everything he owns. If the officer doesn't save the victim, who is later proven to actually need saving, he will be sued for that action too. Any observation of a fistfight or dispatch to domestic violence, unknown trouble calls, or even 911 hang-ups could result in loss of the officer's career, pension, and personal assets. Who in their right mind would start or continue any law enforcement career when a reading of this fast-changing violent situation would completely destroy his life? This, in my opinion, cannot continue. Officers need qualified immunity statutes on the books, or they need to get another job, because who would work under those conditions? No matter what you do, you are subject to suit for a split-second decision made to try and save somebody's life. End of my rant. This sixth story comes from the Spokesman Review, reported July 1st, 2020 in Spokane, Washington. A video posted on Facebook shows a woman being held at gunpoint in her car in Spokane by people who believed she stole something from the store on Friday. The video, taken by bystanders, shows a man and a woman draw their handguns and point them at the woman as she sat in her car. The Spokane Review reported the 36-year-old perp was cited for shoplifting, which is a gross misdemeanor under their statutes. The two citizens who pointed handguns at the suspected shoplifter and threatened to shoot her have received some cautionary advice from the police. Be reasonable. Police added that neither the man or the woman with the gun have been charged with a crime. Police spokesman Terry Predinger, I'll never say that right, said, "We just want to remind people you've got to be reasonable and prudent. If you have to make sure that the use of force you're prepared to use is reasonable in the context of the situation they're in. Under Washington law, any person who aims a firearm at a person, whether loaded or not, is guilty of a gross misdemeanor." Clearly a valid case of self-defense. The non-charging of the armed citizens is the correct response. In New York City, San Francisco, or any number of left-wing jurisdictions, they would be on their way to prison right now. So I admire that they did not charge these people and hope that was the correct decision to make. Now, another story from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. This was reported July 1, 2020. A man named Douglas Haig, he's 57 years old from Mesa, Arizona, was sentenced Tuesday in Las Vegas to 13 months in prison for selling illegally manufactured ammunition to the Route 91 Harvest Festival gunmen. He pleaded guilty in November to a federal charge of manufacturing ammunition without a license in what was the only criminal case to stem from the Las Vegas massacre. The judge made sure to separate the defendant's punishment from the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. The Federal Bureau of Prisons will have discretion to decide whether Haig may serve some of his time at home on home confinement rather than the entire time in jail. Judge Mahon's, my commentary, Judge Mahon's sentence was completely appropriate in not blaming the ammunition seller for the massacre. The defendant clearly had no idea that his ammunition would be used in such an unspeakable act. The Protection of Lawful Commerce in Firearms Act, no, the PLCAA, became law on October 26, 2005, is a United States law which protects firearms manufacturers and dealers from being held liable when crimes have been committed with their products if the current laws are followed during the transaction. In other words, if the dealer does it right, he does a background check, he fills in, checks the boxes, all that stuff, he is immune from suit. You shouldn't be able to sue a dealer. This is one of the main things that the left side politicians in their crime bills they're working on now to defund police and so forth, is to void the Protection of Lawful Firearms Act, meaning manufacturers could be sued for any product that they legally sell if some third party down the line misuses it. And if that goes through, it's part of Joe Biden's current ideas of what should be done. If that goes through, the gun business will close tomorrow. I wanted to digress here for 1 second on a personal note. A number of my fired up friends have been aware that I was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer several months ago. It turns out the cancer was not so terminal and is responding to some cutting edge treatment that I'm currently undergoing. Looks like I'll be fired up for a few more years. So I appreciate your calls and letters and so forth. And I want to address one more issue while I'm on this show. The FBI numbers for background checks were conducted last month. The most since the system was created in 1998. The idea was to be sure that people who were felons or were disallowed for one reason or another could not buy or possess a firearm. The monthly records came in March with 37 million checks being done. Each week in June is now in the top 10 weeks for background checks. Halfway through 2020, just over 19 million background checks have been done, more than all of 2012 and each of the years before that. Background checks are a key barometer of gun sales. The FBI's monthly figures encompass a few things that are, some states run background checks on ammunition and they end up in the system, but it also only counts one background check if the guy buys 3 or 4 guns at the same time. So basically, it is a useful number. If you've noticed, virtually every gun shop in town is out of everything they're trying to sell. This is related to the virus, yes, because crime is up. It's related to the situation in Seattle and several other major cities where the police are not responding, except in a few cases with gun laws to make it harder to get a firearm. Everybody's trying to buy a gun. We have a lot of people that are first-time buyers. If you are one of those, they're estimating about 20% didn't own a gun at all. They're first-time buyers. Get some training. Most shops offer classes in gun safety. Take one so you learn what to do and what not to do so you don't have an accident that makes you part of the problem instead of part of the solution. That's all I have for you today. Please check out our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen recent episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters. We'll be back next Thursday on our website, firedupwithboberwin.com, and on YouTube at the American Guns and Glory Network, numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. While watching any media, just click on the word subscribe and new shows will be sent to your computer or phone automatically. Please forward these broadcasts to your friends. Our logo merchandise, hats, shirts, books, whatnot, are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Strip. Remember, the audio portion is repeated on the Nevada Taught Network all across Nevada at noon on Saturdays. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for supporting Fired Up. Have a good afternoon.